work, one whole day to play. Come on, everybody, wear your roller skates today. It's Saturday, 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 it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, yeah.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Career Exploration Saturday. I'm your host, Ebony Tyler. I have real conversations with real people about real jobs. So this week, I'm so excited to have my friend Verta Maloney on. Verta talks about her time at JAMU. She talks about being an education change agent. We talk about racism in the workplace, and we talk about her passion, which is helping Black women be great. Look, we had a lot of fun. Her pandemic dog Murphy makes an appearance. There's a few edits in this video because, listen, my kids and Murphy, they were just doing the most that day. So you know what? Let's just jump right in. Good afternoon and welcome, Verta. I am so glad to have you here today. I am so glad that you're doing this. And what's so special is that you will be airing on my birthday because you decided that for my birthday, you wanted to help Liberated Success raise some money. So I'm so excited for that. But we'll get to that later on in the conversation. We'll get to that. We'll put a pin in that. So let's get started. So, like to start all the conversations with, tell us who 16-year-old Verta was. Did she have it all together?
I think that just like today, to the world, I had it all together, but inside I was dealing with all of my stuff. And so I went and actually found my yearbook from that year. I was like, what was 16-year-old Verta about? So I was an athlete. So I ran track from the time I was 9 years old all the way up to my freshman year in college. So that was like one of the big things that defined who I was. So I ran track, I played field hockey, I played basketball, and I was in the student government. I was in a high school that was predominantly white, and I feel like those things allowed me to mask and kind of like not really, I feel like I knew everyone, but no one really knew me. And those things kind of let you do that in life, right? Because you can show up as an athlete and nobody's really going to ask any questions if you're doing what you need to do really well. So did I have it together? Yeah, enough to make it through high school, and also enough to know that I wanted to leave that town eventually as well. So, yeah. I'm sorry. We have a pandemic puppy. Let's just keep it all real. And he's right now eating a pee-pee pad. And so I texted Simone talking about, come and help me. She's like with water, trying to be all cool, trying to be like, oh, this is happening. And I'm like, no, the puppy's eating the damn pee-pee pad. And so therein lie one example of, oh, it's all together. Verta's here on the Zoom. She's super present and shit's blowing up all over the place. So in any event, 16-year-old Verta was probably really similar. And yeah, I think that would be the definition. I was like a straight A student. I felt like to the outside eye, I had everything going on for me, but inside it was really hard because I didn't have a lot of other people, other Black folks. I have a twin sister, so I had her, but we didn't really hang out in high school. And yeah, so I'd say that.
And then did you go straight from high school to college? Because you went to,
Absolutely. I was like, I'm getting the hell out of this little town. So I decided that I was going to go to this far off place called Virginia because I didn't pay attention in history class. What Black girl wants to go to Virginia? And I also thought it was beautiful and it's going to be warm all the time. It's the South, right? So I ended up at James Madison's University, as I would always say. JAMU, as people from the area would say, that is in the Shenandoah Valley. And it snows there probably more than it snows in New Jersey at times. And I went there because I wanted to get away from snow. So yeah, I went right to college because I really just wanted to get out of my town and out of my house. So I knew that I was definitely going to leave. The other thing that I'll say about 16-year-old Verta, and then college going, because I didn't go to college at 16. 16 would have had me in my sophomore, junior year. And the one thing that I always knew, I would say to myself, I was destined for greatness. So no matter how hard things would feel in that moment, I'm destined for greatness. I just always had this notion that I was meant to be in a place that was bigger than where I was, and that I was always just bigger than that, and bigger not in the sense of better than, but just bigger in thinking and thought and all of those things, and just like being able to like broaden and be flexible. So yeah, I went right to college in Virginia.
So what was JMU like? I went to college in Virginia too for 1 year, and yes, it snows, and yes, the weather is, and mine was in Virginia, Norfolk, near Virginia Beach. So yes, they have winters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what was JMU like?
So, okay, hold on one second. We're dealing with this puppy. Which one? Okay, bring it and I'll put it on. Sorry, you're gonna get all of it right now. So this is Murphy. Did you see that? This is Murphy, and he's having a little moment right now. So he's gonna go outside for a walk with his best friend Simone, and then I should be able to. So, what was JMU like? Honestly, I met and people that I'm still friends with to this day at JMU. Like, it was on so many levels, this amazing place to be. Surprisingly, right, as a predominantly white institution, James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia, next to Staunton, Virginia, KKK march, and like all these things happening. Yet and still, just this group of Black people that I became so close with. It was almost like just all of these amazing people there at the right time. And so I just made some of my lifelong friends there. And with the backdrop of all of those things, right? And would I do it again? No, there's not a lot of things I would do again, right? And I don't regret having done it though, right? So, but it was intense. It wasn't the first time I was called, I'm going to say the Nword, even though I have been saying the word because as a Black person I get to, but also because people need to hear the sting. So when people say the Nword, they don't really hear the sting of it, right? Like, so to be called a nigger by a white person is huge. And that happened it happened in high school, and it happened when I was in Virginia at JMU, and I got spit on that time by these two. So that's like kind of a little bit of the backdrop. And what I say about my experience at JMU is that it radicalized me, and it made me really connect with what it meant to be a Black person in America, and also just what it meant to be Black in the world. And I had some of the most, I met Maya Angelou, Stokely Carmichael, I met Amiri Baraka, Sonia Sanchez, all of these amazing like Black thinkers, and Gwendolyn Brooks. I mean, the amount of just exposure and people that I met being there that shaped who I am today in so many ways. I would not trade that for the world. So I would say that it was an amazing experience because we were able to create our own little space there. I became the president of the BSA. People would say I was militant. That's really relative. And so, at one point I was like, Verta, you know Verta? They'd be like, oh, you know the Black girl that rides a bicycle? Like, don't Black people ride bikes? Like, I thought it was hilarious that was a descriptor for me. But yeah, like all different things. And so I actually genuinely loved JMU. And at the same time, it was really a rough space and place to be. And I think if not for that group of people that I met there, that I'm still so close to today, that I probably would have ended up leaving, because that was a rough community to be Black in.
Wow. You know what?
Yeah.
I find it interesting, right? Because I was looking at your resume, and you have a bachelor's degree in human communication, and I always feel like you get people, right? So taking that, and then also taking the fact that what you just shared about all these fabulous people that you met, and all the learning that went on there. And you know, I always say that you're like super smart, Melissa Harris Perry smart.
That's so sweet. Thank you. That's really, really a compliment. Thank you.
And you know, I'd like you to maybe share what books did you read during that time to kind of inform the person that you have become, and then it also like informed your work. So if you could just tell us about like some of the things that you were reading when you were there.
So what I will say is, college was the first time that I had Black teachers, professors. So that was also, so aside from books, it was actually seeing these Dr. Gavin, these other, like, I took an African-American spirituality and religion course, and I'm a spiritual person, but not religious, but like just the exposure to actually academics and seeing like, oh, look, like actually like Black teachers. So first, before any book, it was having that as something. And then I would say the books that really shaped me in those 4 years would be, the first I always mention is Asada. So her autobiography, and I mean, you have very close connections to that as well, but that just moved me in a way of, one, having her write and share her story has really opened up understanding how crooked and corrupt and, you know, what we're living in right now, right? Like what happened to her and the way that the police, like, you know, framed her, right? And people coming out, don't come for me, right, for this, but that really formed me. Other books would be The Miseducation of the Negro, the works of Marcus Garvey, poets like Sonia Sanchez. Like I was introduced to her, and like I said, met her. I have frames. I introduced her once, and like she signed this piece that I did, like her, Gwendolyn Brooks. The Ways of White Folks was a book that was really informative to me. Pedagogy of the Oppressed was like really informative in just like my thinking about what it meant to be a Black person in a system that is oppressive. What does it mean to actually liberate yourself from that? And The Temple of My Familiar by Alice Walker was, for some reason, that book like just like moved and rocked me in ways I can't explain it when I was in college. So those are just some of the texts that I would say that kind of like started to shape and mold me and get me to see, because the other thing that I was not exposed to was the works of Black people. So it's not even right. So I didn't have any Black teachers. And then on top of it, it wasn't like I was, you know, the canon, all these, like the things that I was, you know, exposed to were not created by Black, Indigenous, or people of color. And so that was huge for me. And to be able to experience that at JMU at the time with like certain people that are there, right? Like that I'm still connected to and that are doing amazing work now in this space. So yeah, those would be some of the books.
So you mentioned working in an oppressive system, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so Verta also has a master's degree from Columbia University, Teachers College, in politics and education. So my question is, you know, you've always been somewhat of a change agent in education. And from the beginning of your career, right? Like mentoring non-tenured teachers as a literacy instructional specialist, a leadership coach. Like, what was your motivation behind doing these things? Like, did something happen? Did you see something? Did you experience something? Like, why do you feel the need to change the educational system? What drives you to do that?
I think, honestly, little Verta, who was a set of twins, where people made decisions about who I would be, who my sister would be from a really young age, is what shaped me in my subconscious, right? So I think it was always thinking about what my experience was and was not, being Black and being dark, right? Like, so there's this whole thing around that. And
are we going here?
Oh, we're going all the way in. And so I just always think about what would have helped me be more authentically Verta earlier. And I think that motivated me. To be frank, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Doing education was just like, okay, you know, I majored in human communication in undergrad. I was not extremely challenged in college. I'm just gonna be really honest. I actually feel like, and that helped me to actually pursue other things. So I had gotten scholarships, and this is a God bless my mother moment. I got full scholarship to Princeton, full scholarship to a couple of other places, Clark Atlanta, like a lot of places to run track. And I just didn't want to do it because at that, I knew that it was a profession at that point, like that it was going to be my life. So I said, I took a partial scholarship to go to JMU and I was going to figure it out. Like, so I ran my first year and then I was like, I don't want that to be my life. And so I said, okay, I'm going to major in human communication, which what the hell is that even? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, okay, we can major in this. And I think I'm just a good communicator in general. And so it wasn't super hard. But that allowed me to lean into clubs at school, being on protesting, like you could, picket signs, all that stuff, right? But to really kind of find myself in a way that I definitely was not able to do in high school. So I didn't know I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know, like, this path that I've gone on was not intentional. I did not say one day I want to. Like, that's not anything that's ever been a part of my, like, worldview. Like, I never said I wanted to have kids, never wanted to get married. Like, quite honestly, the opposite. To my children, I love and adore you. You are the best thing I never wanted to do. That's what I tell people. Like, I did not have no plan. So my career, I think, of wanting to be a change agent is really, like I said, about little Verta sitting in a classroom and all of the little Vertas all over the country, all over the world that don't have these images in front of them of what greatness could be, and not to any fault of their own. And I think that's what really motivates me. And that's why I'm really drawn to young people and kids. Like, I just think that we really need to be intentional about how we are shaping what they think is possible. And honestly, like, I love this generation, Gen Z. They're like, fuck it, y'all ain't gonna shape it. So you like messed up, we gonna do this on our own. Yeah. And millennials to a certain extent as well. So I did not pick that path. And so I decided to minor in education because it was like a double major. And I just always loved, like I said, being around young people. And so I minored in middle school education. And that's when I ended up kind of pursuing the path of being a classroom teacher. But I think it was just like a safe thing. I think that if I were to pick other things, I probably would have done other things sooner. But I just didn't really know, first generation too. And so there's like, go to college and then, get a job. Like, that's what you do.
I mean, that's literally the plan, all right? That's literally the plan.
Right. Like,
go to college, get a job, get something safe, something that's going to continue to give you an income. And, wanting to start something of your own is always seen as, wow, like this big undertaking, right? Yeah. So speaking of
or it's a side hustle, It's never like your main hustle. And then also understanding that you could have multiple hustles. But like, it was just kind of like, and I get it. And like I said, God bless my mom because she let me, in her way, figure out what I wanted to do.
That's what's up. So, talking about, big undertakings. I mean, classroom teacher, instructional coach, leadership coach, but then decided to found a school in the boogie down Bronx. And then after, and so this is a two-part question, right? Like, why did you want to create a school? And then after doing such a huge lift, what was your motivation to leave after 5 years?
Yeah. So creating a school was kind of, when I hear it back from Stefan, who is Nolan and Simone's dad, my co-parent, like, he's like, you always wanted to do that. Like, I don't even remember some of the things that come out of my mouth and the things I want to do, but it was kind of like when the opportunity came, he's like, but that's something you've always talked about. I was like, have I always talked about that? So it was in order to, there's lots of ways to change systems. There's lots of ways to change the world. There's lots of ways to be a revolutionary. There's no one right way. There's a lot of wrong ways, but there's no one right way to do that. And for me, it was, I felt like being within the system was not the way. And so I founded a charter school, which technically is still in the system, but that's a whole other convoluted story. But that said, I was like, if I'm going to be a founding leader at a school, I want it to be not a part of the traditional public school system. And the school was also an arts elementary school because I also believe really strongly in providing the opportunity for all humans, and very specifically Black, Indigenous, and children of color, the opportunity to express themselves in ways that we have since the beginning of creation. And those are the things that are the first that are taken away from those that the system chooses to marginalize. So you ain't got no art, you can't go outside and play, all you gonna do is read and math all day. And I was like, that's just not the way. So it had to be that type of school that would honor them, and not because we wanted to build a school where they were going to become pianists and ballet dancers, but that they would have an appreciation for that, whether they decided to become that or not, and to really open that up. And so, the South Bronx is the genesis of so much, like the creativity, the innovation, just like what Black and brown people in the Bronx have like always had in their bones, regardless of the fact that they tried to cut them off from the rest of the city with that damn highway. Like, it doesn't even matter in the spirit of it. And so that just was a really natural place to do it, because it's just like a really entrepreneurial spirit there in the South Bronx. And so I think by nature, it was just always to create spaces for kids where they could be seen, heard, healed, and loved. And like, that's the thing. Like, so how do you create that for young people? And I think that was, for me, why I wanted to start a school. That said, I left because it was still part of a system. And it was really hard to show up every day in that system and give so much to that system, and not be able to give just as much to my own kids. And I think that's really a very, it's a sad truth about the educational system as it is right now. We have some of the most brilliant minds, beautiful souls, wonderful spirits giving everything to other people's children. And some can't even feed their own. Some don't get to see their children all day. Because they're doing all those things. And that was just something that didn't sit right with me. And then on top of it, it was also just the oppressive thing about boards being full of like lots of white people, systems being full of a lot of oppressive ways of being that were even hard for me to name at the time that I decided to leave. And just another opportunity presented itself, and one where I could go and support other people starting schools, other leaders. And I love to help people be great. I really do. It's just something that it's always been something that I love to do.
That is true. And you know what? It's interesting because I feel that like since our friendship, I've had to actually face some things about myself because, you know.
Oh, really, Ebony Tyler?
Some things about myself, you know. And I think one of the things that I also had to face was, or that you helped me have the language to discuss, is racism and dealing with it in the workplace and dealing with it in my kids' school and just dealing with it in the world. And I know you co-founded a company called 45 Lemons, and like I think I know why it's named that. I don't know for sure. But I want you to share with us about your work at 45 Lemons, what you're doing there, why do you do that work, and then how do you take care of yourself in that work? Because that's a lot.
So I am, to be really frank, I'm working on the taking care of myself part. I think especially as we sit here on this day in 2020 and all the things that have transpired in the last, 6 months, that have just been a microscope on what has been happening in the world for both of our lives combined and then some, right? Like, so I just think, so the self-care aspect is one that I'm really working on. So we'll get back to that in a minute. Some of the self-care involves bourbon.
I have water.
I have bourbon. And so 45 Lemons, I co-founded about 3 years ago, because I started with my best friend who I met the first day in college. Her name is Na, and we were both 45 when we decided to start this company. So we also chose Lemons. Well, one, I just wanted to name it Lemon, but that wasn't available. Someone had that domain name, because I just like the name. I like names that just like people will ask you questions about it. But also one day it could just stand on its own. Like, who knows what it'll be down the road. That said, it's also because lemons are one of the most pure, you can use it to heal just about anything. You can get it how you want it. You can get it sour, you can get it sweet, but it will cure you. And so that's the union of those two things. And our work is bringing together that in order to create an anti-racist world, and I very deliberately try not to use the words diversity, equity, and inclusion because they don't really mean much. Anti-racism is also, and so, yeah, the term anti-racism is also getting, I don't know, it's moment in the sun, right? There's this saying that once popular culture, or the oppressor, if you will, starts to use the language that you have been using, then it's time to probably go on to new language. So we'll think about that. That said, we came together because the work I was doing about racial justice and equity and anti-racism, which I've been doing pretty much as we've already established since I was in college and younger, was comes really nicely together, or it's often not put together with human resources and your talent. It's always these separate things and people don't realize it. But if you can't get the people to, one, understand what motivates them at their core and also understand how they are showing up in racist and non-racist ways, then you're basically screwed. And so Nawd's been in HR forever. We're like, always knew we'd want to do something together. We basically kind of raised our kids together. We've grown up together, like all these things. And so that was how this came to be. And so it's, you know, in the last 6 or so months has really picked up a lot. And yeah, and we're thinking about how to, we're growing it, and it's growing in a beautiful way. And one of the things that we have people, like I said, talk about is what motivates them at their core and how their racial identity plays into that. So that's 45 Lemons, one of the companies that I've co-founded recently, and I co-founded another one. And this is the thing, founding companies, being an entrepreneur, those are things that Black people like always do, but it's considered your side hustle. But when white folks do it, it's like they've got, like, it's their main hustle. So why can't that be the case for us? We know why, as far as, but we can like kind of break those molds. Kind of why I love these career conversations. It just gives you an opportunity to see like all of the things that are possible. And I didn't know any of these things were possible as an 18-year-old or as a 16-year-old, right? And so he's like eating the pee-pee pad again. Sorry, y'all. This is probably going to be the funniest, like most non-traditional career conversation. So was there another question about 45 Lemons? Oh, there was the taking care of myself. So the other company that I'm a co-founder of and the chief community officer of is called TheGameHers. And it's about connecting women, non-binary, trans gamers. And women make up about 50% of gamers in the world, yet we are not represented in the billions. When I say billions, I mean billions of dollars that are made there. So that was also, that's a whole other story of how that came to be. But it's in my mid to late 40s that I'm in a place where I'm like, you know what, I'm pretty smart. I know a lot of things. I can do this. Now, does it mean that I have a bunch of money? No, I'm still working on that part, right? But I'm trying to create a legacy. I'm trying to create, you know, the story that'll be told back about me and what I contributed to the world. And both of those spaces, it's about making sure, and I did this work about 5 years ago, really honing in on what's important to me. And like I said, it's for Black, Indigenous, the people of color to always be seen, heard, healed, and loved in any space that I enter, that they know that I am there for them, that I see you, you see me, I'm up here for you, not anything else. Don't get it twisted. And that's really basically like all of the work that I do. And it was about 5 years ago after a really rocky, you know, because we talked about that organization I used to work for where it was like mad racist stuff happening. I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do this anymore. And it's really difficult because, and when I think back, I was like, I should have sued them. I should have done all these things. But as Black people, we are so often in those spaces that we just want to be out, right? We just don't want to be in that anymore, or we're forced to stay in it because it's, you know, it's how we make money and it's how we provide for our families and it's how we pay our mortgages and pay our rent and, you know, buy our bus passes, right? So we have to be subjected to that. And I think one of the brightest spots of this moment, this current revolution that we're in, because it's always, you know, this is just our time, this is nothing new, is that more Black people get to show up as their full authentic selves, which creates a model for young people to see like this is happening. And so they're seeing that earlier, and they all up in our business now because we at home on these calls talking about all this stuff. So they all up in the biz. And so that's just a different way that they get to exist. So yeah.
So speaking about money and speaking about helping people, why did you decide that you want to help Liberated Success raise this money? Why do you want to do this?
Oh, and I gotta, you know, I'm about to go make some more videos because people need to come with it, right? So this isn't gonna air till your birthday, but by the time we get to your birthday, I need to have seen people like, come on, like we need to get to this $10,000 because as many people are out there, we can do this. And then it's even more than that. But like I said, so when I did a GoFundMe 2 months ago for another small Black woman-owned business, and this is not anything. I didn't think about this, just kind of like my career path. It was like, you know what? I was talking to Tamika. She makes these dope t-shirts. I was like, you know, I want you to be my Printful. If anyone's out there that knows Printful, it's a company that will, you know, print swag for you. And I just really loved the quality of what she did. She was a Black woman doing this work. And we talked so much about like what was preventing her from being able to do it. And it's kind of this space where it's not that we don't have careers, we don't have jobs, we don't have degrees, we're not able to, you know, maintain. It's just that needing that little bit to actually fully propel you into, or more fully propel you into the thing that just makes you excited about being here and it's the thing you're supposed to do. And I think if I can do anything to do that for more Black women in this lifetime, then I will have done what I needed to do. And so we have been friends. You have had this vision evolve and develop throughout the whole time that I've known you. And then once you started a couple months ago to like really lean into it, you just like a different person. And so what more can you be like once you get there, right? So that's why I wanted to help you be great and do the thing that you're like totally meant to do in this world. And too often it's money that holds us back. It's access that holds us back. It's not knowing the right people. It's just feeling like, you know what, I guess it's not my time, whatever it is. And so why not? So yeah. So I don't have a gazillion followers, not like, you know, whatever, but whatever little platform, whatever large platform, whatever platform any of us have that we can make an impact, then we should use it for that. So that's why. And because I think what you're doing is, so come through and watch me on Twitch, 7 o'clock on Thursdays at TheGameHers, and you'll probably get a good laugh at a minimum. And the show's called Level Up. It's about leveling up in life, and for me to level up in games, which I don't play a lot, but it's fun to watch me. And you can find me in all the places at Verta on Twitter. Just look for Verta. There's not that many Vertas in the world, so Instagram, all those places. Support my businesses, 45 Lemons, TheGameHers, and support the things that I'm putting out in the world. Support Ebony, come and support that GoFundMe. And I think those are all the places to get at me.
Thank you so much, Verta.
Thank you, Ebony. Thank you, and thanks for creating this space.
Thank you. Wasn't that fun? All right, so some takeaways from our conversation with Verta. The books that she mentioned that helped her become radicalized. I mean, Verta's not really radical to me, but I mean, I guess because I'm here for all of it, right? So she talks about the miseducation of the Negro, works of Marcus Garvey, Asada, pedagogy of the oppressed, and the temple of my familiar. And I think we can all use some of this to help us be anti-racist and to really understand what's happening in this country right now, and especially our kids. 2, she is here for Black and Indigenous people of color to be seen, heard, and loved in the spaces that she occupies. That really sat with me, because how many times have you felt that you were not seen or heard or loved in just everyday life and just everyday interactions? And then why? Why is this occurring? Right? Why is this occurring for Black people? And in 3, why can't our side hustle be our main hustle? Why is that not afforded to us? All right. Thank you so much, Verta. Folks, please help Verta help Liberated Success be great. We have accomplished so much since the start of Career Exploration Saturday. We started this journey 3 months ago as a fundraising tool, and it actually turns into a community building tool. And look, some good news. Liberating Success is now a nonprofit. What? And it's our birthday. So it's not only my birthday, it's Liberated Success birthday. It's our birthday. So you know what? Thank you to everyone who has stuck around all these weeks. This concludes season 1 of Career Exploration Saturday. I'll be back next week with the start of season 2. Perhaps we'll have a new format. I don't know. I'm still mulling it over in my brain. But we will still have great career journey stories. And if you want to be a guest on Career Exploration Saturday, just grab a time in the link. The link is in my bio. It's the first comment on Facebook and YouTube. I've opened up the YouTube comment section. Folks, you've been asking for it. You want to drop some comments. Y'all want to have discussion. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So listen, Liberated Success, we are a nonprofit. We received our nonprofit status this week from New York State, and I'm so excited. So thank you to my board of directors. I've got an all Black woman board of directors. We are a woman-led youth career development community-based organization out of Brooklyn. And we believe in sharing information and resources so that our children can make liberated career choices. And if you're serious about supporting Black women and supporting Black, Indigenous people of color reach their full potential, then you need to support Liberated Success. So show us some birthday love. Hit that GoFundMe, people. All right, look, it's my birthday. I got to get out of here. I'm not going to keep you long. You know what we got to do. We got to save ourselves. We got to wear our masks, wash our hands, physically distance. All Black Lives Matter. We got to vote. Like, we got to show up in record-breaking numbers. Like, what's your voting plan? I got my voting plan. I'm going to vote early. I'm going to bring my snacks. I'm going to bring my chair. I'm going to bring my water. And I am going to be prepared to stand and to wait to cast my vote. All right. Show us some birthday love, all right? And I'll see you next week where we kick off season 2 of Career Exploration Saturday. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Crazy work, one whole day to play. Come on, everybody, wear your roller skates.